NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner. And with me today is Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Samuel King, who is here to talk about our updated transformation initiative. Thank you for joining us, Dr. King.
Happy to be here. Glad to be here.
Good to have you too. And I know everyone is excited to hear about this evolving transformation initiative. You know, we've had the Dijon Richter study, we've had further research, and so now we have a revised plan that we wanted you to come on the show and share with the parents and the community and staff, just what we're doing now. So give us a little bit of insight on the transformation initiative, the new updates.
Okay, be glad to do that. Initially, I'll just give just a very brief background of the path that we have traveled thus far, of course. The notion of the Dijon Richter study centered on a tenet or an action plan from the strategic plan itself and action steps. And so we utilized that extensive study to gather the information that was necessary to take a look at student growth trends, for example. Also to take a look at socioeconomic variables that could impact the school system and trends that have already impacted the school system, as well as building level capacity, utilization, the age of schools, all of those things coming into play, and what are the implications linked to student achievement around all of those things. So that was a huge task, and we had a steering committee that was involved in that process that was made up of stakeholders from the community, as well as teachers, administrators, board members, internal audience as well. They came together for a period of months to work along with the Dijon Richter firm to have open discussion and open dialogue around the various bits and pieces of information that would come to us on an ongoing basis, and it was a very positive experience to watch them enter into bold discussions around the statistics and around what the numbers really mean. Now that we can really attach meaning to those statistics, because we do have a strategic plan in place that does focus our work. So that allowed us to take a modified look at where we are and the whole notion of transforming our school division, and because we know that that's what we must do to see our students achieve at extremely high levels, all students across all subgroups, so that we remove barriers from all students and build the capacity for them to be the very best that they can be. So
we initially got into this, we looked at transforming 10 schools.
Yes.
So now, and that's what has heard about, they've known about, they've read about, and we spoke about, but what are we doing now that's going to be different from what we discussed earlier?
Sure. Initially we were reviewing 10 schools and an open campus approach to open campus program. The 10 schools were named and very clear to the public around the notion that we, over a period of time, reviewed, I guess I would call it formative data related to those schools, as well as summative data, quantitative approaches, as well as qualitative, and discussions. And once we had approximately a series of months, almost a year, to do that analysis, then we had 10 schools that we knew could benefit very deeply from transformation. And transformation means the deep support and change that's necessary to move in the direction of a very positive school culture and climate that will benefit children from a student achievement standpoint. So we utilized that analysis to hone in on those 10 initially because of the analysis of the data that we saw during year one. And during year one, as we reviewed our statistics as well, we really realized that we were not able to do the job that we should do for children at the middle school level, for example. I should say the non-traditional approach. We have students in middle school and over age for grade classrooms, which means that they're older than a typical middle schooler would be. for various reasons. Some could be the lack of internalizing the standards and therefore might have been retained along the way to result in being placed in an over age for grade classroom. But simply put, we were not meeting their needs. We are not meeting the needs of those students at the middle school level, where you have the teenagers that are there that really, as in terms of age appropriateness, should be in high school. So that was one example that we quickly centered on in terms of doing our review. Another rests at the high school level, and in terms of having multiple numbers of students across each of our high school campuses behind on credits, to the point that, mathematically speaking, they would not be able to graduate on time or in a timely manner. And credit recovery is offered on the high school grounds, but these are students that are behind to the point that credit recovery was a difficult task or feat for them to even get them back on track. And then evening school wouldn't do it for various reasons, because there are limitations in terms of the number of credits that they could secure through evening school, and also there's a charge for that as well.
So in essence, we had to go back and look at our elementary, our middle, and our high schools.
Absolutely.
What the focus and what the needs were there, and then restructure or revise our transformation initiative.
Yes.
So what schools are being shifted or changed or affected by this new transformation?
Right. So we continued our focus on the 10 schools, of course, and we continued our focus on open campus, which is what I was explaining earlier with the middle school over age for grade, the high school students behind, and also students that have dropped out. And so that has to continue. As well as the 10 schools that we pinpointed, that whole notion must continue as well. We modified it because of the additional information we received from the comprehensive study, which gave us the information that centered on utilization of our buildings or underutilization in some cases, especially at the middle school level, based on what the statistics told us. And it opened the door for further opportunity. We know that we've had students leave the system yearly, so a declining student population. And so that study revealed that. And, you know, when there are challenges, you must turn your challenges into opportunities.
Right.
And we feel that this is what the study has allowed us to begin to do. So to answer your question, the recommendations center on one particular concept at the elementary level, which is what I call a partnering and a pairing of schools. And that's simply based on the location, the logistical location of those schools, and being able to pair them to work together to pool the resources to do a better job for children. And so transformation, we must all remember that transformation for our school division is about changing school culture in a way that across our division we support and build highly effective teachers in the classroom. We support and build highly effective building level leaders, making them instructional leaders, or even more effective instructional leaders. And we embrace a concept for the delivery of instruction that it's centers on the cycle for results that we already talked about. And it's just a package of best practices that you should see in each school and in each classroom. And so seeing those things begin to manifest in a way that you have commonalities around what you observe in schools. So that's a long-term approach. And so the pairing of the schools are, we were considering Jay Cox Elementary School, pairing with Lindenwood. And so the Jay Cox Elementary School pairing with Lindenwood was proposed in terms of Jay Cox as a pre-K2. Okay. So an early start center approach, so to speak, early literacy, emphasis and focus, in addition to all of the other rigorous kinds of things that we know we need to do. And then Lindenwood Elementary, which is close by, close proximity, grades 3-5. And so that we are able to utilize Jay Cox Elementary as that pre-K2, but with a STEM emphasis as well. So beginning that whole notion early, because STEM should be infused throughout the curriculum in a way that you provide the rigor to students in addition to the things that you must do each day. Continuing that into what I refer to as upper elementary, which would be Lindenwood, for grades 3-5. And with Lindenwood's emphasis would be, it's proposed as pre-IB. So International Baccalaureate, the whole approach there is designed for, ages 3 to 12 and focuses on the development of the whole student, the whole child, and the problem solving that should come into play to make them college and career ready. So that's one pair, and we're phasing that because we took a look at the results of the study, and we know that we have some utilization challenges across both schools. So we're taking the time to plan so that we can roll the reconfiguration of that pair out, hopefully, the following school year, not 14-15, but 15-16. But that doesn't mean that we're going to rest and not move forward with the appropriate professional learning that needs to occur around the readiness for this change. All of the things I mentioned earlier in terms of the school climate change, centering on the notion of highly effective teachers, highly effective principals, the professional learning that should be provided for them. We'll spend that year doing that.
Glad you brought that up. What type of professional learning will they receive, best practices?
Well, the best practices approach, the common approach, it centers on what we call data-driven decision making, where you analyze where children are in terms of their strengths related to literacy, numeracy, various areas of subject matter and the discipline, in terms of knowing where your baseline, what your baseline is, knowing from that how to differentiate instruction. And the instruction, of course, will be aligned and is aligned with the expected curriculum that should be rolled out, but measuring learning each day in a standardized process so that you know when children master the standards and when children struggle. And then when children struggle, you have a caseload for those students and you provide a safety net. It could be a pull-out, small group intervention type of approach that you utilize for those students that did not master standards. So it means that you know where each child is and you have a process, that's why we call it data-driven decision making, based on the performance of students each day from a formative standpoint.
So we'll be constantly assessing the students, and the teachers will be continuously doing professional development to learn the best practices.
Yes, to become very, very effective at doing so. We have teachers that are highly effective at doing that today, and we want to utilize those as models, to be the trainer-of-trainer model, for example, but to roll it out in a way, as I alluded to earlier, that when you go from one classroom to another, you see the similarities in reference to the strategies that are being utilized for students and for teaching and learning, to the point that various modalities are addressed for students, to the point that we don't just have the lower level kind of instruction being rolled out at the knowledge level, but the kind of instruction that will be utilized at a higher order thinking standpoint in terms of synthesis and analysis and students knowing about knowledge, knowing about knowing, and the metacognition piece that comes into play. That's a whole training component that we're going to be rolling out for all of our programs, all of our teachers, and with this phase of transformation, but the entire division is going to get pieces of this as well.
There's going to be a lot of change going on, but it's change for the good. You mentioned two of the schools that will be shifting, but we do know of one particular school that I want you to talk a little bit about, which is Lafayette Winona. What's going to transpire with Lafayette Winona? Okay.
The proposal that's on the table for Lafayette Winona at present centers on potentially closing Lafayette Winona for 1 year and repurposing it, spending that year to repurpose it, and opening it the following year, so closing it for 2014-15, and then reopening during the 15-16 school year.
Okay.
From our study, we were given information and statistics that centered on the fact that we're at approximately a 30% underutilization of our middle schools, which means that we could benefit from closing one school and redistributing those students strategically across other middle schools so that we don't impact our numbers, so that we don't impact our pupil-teacher ratios, but spend the time repurposing Lafayette Winona in a way that we open it the following year as a total choice school with an emphasis on STEM and IB
now,
as
how
well.
will the choice schools work for
The choice,
students who are involved in the transformation initiative?
Right. The choice notion for the repurpose of Lafayette Winona is for the entire division. Okay. And we are looking at a proposal to repurpose it as a 3-8 school, so grades 3rd through 8. So any parent that has a 3rd grade child through 8th grade can express interest in their child or children attending the new Lafayette Winona when we open it again, because during that year we're going to spend time pinpointing staff members that have a keen interest in the whole notion of STEM, the whole notion of the tenets of International Baccalaureate, spending that year beginning to give them the professional learning necessary to be ready to open the school in 15-16 with a different approach. And the reason that we're excited about this is that this would be the first opportunity that we will have had to have a elementary up through the middle ranks 3-8 entity like this with a rigorous theme attached, and also highly effective, well-prepared teachers that have received professional learning modules, not only the ones I mentioned earlier around the things that you must do from an instructional leadership standpoint, but infusing the pre-IB notion, the IB notion, also the STEM requirements that would be necessary. So I think that this is something that parents can look forward to in terms of being able to show interest in it and watch us build that process.
Right.
And we anticipate, although we're still planning, we anticipate that parents will be able to express their interest through a process that we will develop. And once they express their interest through that process, there will be some requirements around dedication and commitment. For example, we want parents to be committed to engagement with the school. Okay. And so we'll have some parent compacts around that commitment, and we will expect some commitment from students as well around the things that we know we want students to do in school anyway. Right. But commit them to writing, commit those things to a blueprint, and so that while the parent commits to that and also shows some dedication, the student does as well. And we'll enter into some conversations with the parent and the student around what those things are, and we will work together as a team to see that come into fruition.
Right, so it's really a commitment between the students, the parents, and the schools.
As a team.
Well, we do that anyway, all around Norfolk Public Schools, but seriously with this transformation initiative. This is a lot of information, and I knew it was going to be hard for us to get it all out in one setting, so I'm sure we're going to have you come back and talk more about it. But we're going to kick off these changes starting, what, in May? Well,
we are working the process now.
Okay.
The board gave us preliminary approval of each scenario, each option that was presented. And so that approval means that we could move forward with our community conversations, move forward with conversations with staff members. And so now we're in what I refer to as the staff engagement process. As a matter of fact, I held one session this morning at Fairlawn with the staff at Fairlawn to talk about where we are. What does it mean to take a look at reconfiguring Fairlawn and partnering Fairlawn potentially with Popular Halls.
Okay.
And so, and the same concept with the pre-K2 concept and 3-4-5 concept. What's different about it? What does it mean for the staff? All of those things. And then continuing to engage the parents, but now bringing teachers together to form a focus group that would be inclusive of the teacher, the administrators, executive directors, to talk about now that we see the core of what this is designed to accomplish, how can we use our expertise to make it happen? Because I think we could better empower our teachers and to make decisions, because they're the experts in the classroom. So now is the time to bring them together to take a look at this whole reconfiguration, to say, okay, what are the things that we want to ensure that we capture in our pre-K2 model? Because we have the research around what needs to happen from a literacy standpoint, but how do we deliver that as we transition? And so the teachers are the ones that are going to have to carry the ball, so to speak, with that. And so they'll be involved in that.
So I'll tell you what, we're going to have you back on the show.
Okay.
How about in May?
Look forward to
come back, and we
it.
can get into the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty, each school, because it's a long list of schools, and it's a lot of information to try to put into one show. And I think it's important, because I think the parents are going to be intrigued about this, and they're going to want to know more details about, even staff members, about how this plan is going to work, because it's a thick plan.
Yeah.
But we're going to work this plan, and it's a lot of great information. It's hard to get you to cram it all in in this amount of time. So I'm going to have you come back on the show so we can talk about it more. Is there one last thing you said you wanted to say?
Yeah, I suggest that when we do that, we can divide the transformational phase rollout into segments, and probably spend a show on one segment.
Right.
And then kind of periodically then roll it out in some other segments.
And I think our audience will appreciate that, because I know if I am a parent of a Norfolk student, and I would be taking notes right now watching this show. So thank you, Dr. King, for coming on today. Oh, is there something else you want to say?
One last comment, yes.
Not a problem.
So I think one thing to remember is that this is something that as we implement, we want to ensure that we do it with fidelity. And we know it represents change, and change always brings about a sense of anxiety around all involved. But, you know, by bringing the appropriate parties together to look at timing and how we roll it out, how we phase it in, all those things are important, and we're not going to forget that. While we know we need to move with some level of expediency, we also know we have to have deep implementation so that it manifests itself. So that's important for us.
Right. I'm going to ask you one more question here. Go back to the specialized training for the staff for a moment, because I want parents to know that we're just not creating these specialty programs, and the teachers and staff aren't adequately trained for that. Right.
Each program has its own module related to professional learning. Again, that's in addition to the traditional expectations that we have around instructional leadership, the cycle for results. All those things are components around which teachers, building level leaders, governance leadership team, everybody will be trained around what are the expectations, what are the indicators that should reflect that we are displaying those traits and characteristics in our schools. So that's important. The AVID model, advancement via individual determination, is a model that's an early elementary model, middle to high school, and it focuses on college and career readiness, planning, blueprint planning process from the lower level to the upper level, so that students begin to envision early on that I have a goal around which I want to accomplish, and what education is really about. You know, all of those things are important through the AVID model. Pre-IB, you know, we mentioned is really a model that touches multiple categories in terms of what I refer to as the higher order thinking skills piece, the rigor that comes along with that. And so that whole international baccalaureate piece is going to help students be prepared to compete globally. So taking a look at national standards and merging those in as well. Also the STEM approach. The STEM approach focuses on the science, the technology, the engineering, the mathematics. The arts are important for us as well as we do that. These are things that have modules for professional learning training for all of our people. Again, the teachers, building level leaders, central level people, in addition to the core of the work. And these experts will receive this type of cutting edge training, which will really ramp up the delivery of services for us.
Okay.
And so we look forward to that. So those are some examples of that.
So we're going to have you come back. We're going to break
Okay.
it down
All right.
segment by segment so we can get notepads and
Okay.
take notes,
All
because
right.
this is important for not only the community, but for parents and staff and for the students
Sure.
too.
Sure.
And I want to touch back on the timeline because I had some information here. So
Okay.
the way we have it, I know you said it's like a moving target. It may
Right.
shift and change, but May 1st, 2014, students will be reassigned, possibly.
Right.
June 30th, staff reassignments become effective.
Sure.
August 1st, the building closes, which is Lafayette Winona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and September through January, the IB STEM program is going to be structured.
Mm-hmm.
February, potential staff apply. March, potential students apply. And this is for Lafayette Winona.
Lafayette Winona, yes.
Okay, and then April, staff is interviewed and hired, and in May, students interviewed and accepted. And this is for particularly Lafayette Winona.
No, yes.
Okay, and then June and July, final building preparations are implemented.
Yes.
So we're looking at September opening up the new Lafayette Winona.
Yeah, that following year. So that's a good example of a segment alone.
A segment alone, yes.
Because we are at the point now where we have scheduled a community conversation
Okay.
for Lafayette Winona.
And Norfolk Public Schools will be hosting these different community conversations throughout the summer, or starting now and throughout the summer. Related to each one of the facets of it in the schools that are involved.
Right.
Keep everyone informed.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, you stay tuned.
Yes,
We're going to
will do.
have you back.
Will do.
Thank you for watching NPS Now. If you have any interesting story ideas, email us at npsnews@npsk12.com or tune in to WNPS Channel 47 or watch us online at www.npsk12.com. Again, thank you for watching NPS Now.